Hey guys, welcome back. Recently I was asked if I'd ever taken the body off the chassis on an 80 series. I said no because I haven't done it, and I started having a bit of a look, and I found down here, that my front rubber mounts where it connects the body to the chassis were flogged out, which allows the front part of the cab to shift around and move forward and bounce up and down. So I thought that's not real flash. I would recommend that if you have not looked at your 80 series front rubbers just down here, that you do it pretty soon, because from looking on the internet now I'm finding out quite a few of them are flogging out the rubbers. So I've bought my genuine replacement ones, and we're going to go through how to put those in and lock that front of that cab down again. If you don't have these locked down, you can actually get cracks forming in the front parts of your cab. I have seen them now cracked either side of the radiator and things like that. So let's get into it, guys. If you enjoy my videos, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. So the first thing we're going to need to do is remove the batteries, the battery trays. It's pretty easy. Disconnect your batteries. If you've got dual batteries, one on each side, take them out, take the water bottle out, and you've got to take the battery tray out. There's just some bolts in the bottom. I'm not going to show you how to do all that. We're just going to get into the thing. But we need to get access right down into the bottom here so we can get to the top of the bolt that's holding the rubbers in. So with the battery tray removed from here, you can get down, and the bolt you want is down in here behind the radiator. Now I'm going to see if I can pull it out without taking the radiator out. It'll probably be a lot easier if you took the radiator out, but hopefully a bit of WD and we should be all good. So a bit of WD-40 just to lubricate it up, and I'm using a nice long socket here. And that was looser than I was expecting, and I'm lucky because it's not turning the nut at the top. I'd have to get a socket down in there somehow. Now I wouldn't normally just hit the end of a bolt, but it's got this nice little rounded bit there, possibly for doing exactly this. I will be replacing that as well. They get wear around in there and get loose, so I recommend replacing them as you go. So because that bolt was so tight on the bottom, we're down here on the top, we've got a long breaker bar, and we're trying to loosen that bolt so that it will come out. So what's happened is the bolt coming through is seized up on this steel tube that runs up the middle of the rubber, and the whole rubber's moving and it's stuck to the body up here. So you've got to try and free this up here so that you can get this apart. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and use this chisel and knock it off the body here, which is doing absolutely nothing except beating into the body. Okay, so a bit of an update. This here is severely stuck in the hole. The bolt's now stuffed. We've been hitting on the end here trying to knock it through and rattle gun from the top. It's completely, totally and utterly seized in there. So if you're going to do this, I recommend that you buy new bolts when you buy the bushes, if they're anything like mine. The other one had corrosion on the bolt, so I'm going to replace it now anyway. I'll come back and do that later. But this one here is not going to be any good by the time we're finished. So, going to try cutting this little bit off the bottom here so we can hammer harder on the bolt there. So I'm just going to use the angle grinder. Just like that, it gives us something more solid to hammer on. We need a new bolt anyway now, so now we cut the bolt off and hammered that up there. We've got the play up in here between that washer and the cab. So I'm going to try and use this one's a Bosch. But it's like a Renovator Pro with a long blade, and it's going to go in, and hopefully we'll cut that bolt off. We'll cut the bottom of that off, and then we'll be able to lift that mount out. So as you can see, the Renovator didn't really work very well. All the teeth just got chewed off and it's hardly touched the bolt, so that did not work. So still trying to get this bolt out. drilled holes through the bolt. I'm going to try and twist it off at the top and snap the bolt. So yeah, drilled 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, because that rotates, so there's 3 holes drilled through the middle of the bolt now. So drilling through's worked. Now I'm just going to try and get down here and grab the bolt with the pointy nose pliers. And there it is. So you can see where I drilled through, 1, 2, 3, and it's broken the bolt off. No need for an oxy, don't have an oxy, so wouldn't have been able to use one anyway. But that's worked if you don't have access to an oxy. Now you will need to remove the second bolt holding the cab to the chassis down. Lift up your carpet. This won't be here, this is an extra insulation that I have in my car to deaden the sound. Pull that plug out and you can get to the bolt. There, underneath, you just need to loosen that off. So this bolt here is your second bolt back, and to be able to lift the front up, you're going to have to move that one out. Just undo the bottom one, take it off, and you'll need a socket on top and a socket on the bottom. You can loosen it off, and then you should be able to move the cab. So what we're going to have to do here, because this is still seized down in the shaft, you have to cut it off right up there close, so that when this whole unit, you undo that bolt, you undo that bolt, and then you jack the cab up, and that whole unit's got to come up and out. But with that length on there, you're going to have to jack the cab up even more. If the bolt comes out, you don't have to worry about it, because you just pull your bolt out and then jack your cab up, and away you go. So I'll cut this off, and then we'll jack the cab up and we'll pull this out. So I've put this up here so that when I'm grinding, I'm not putting sparks onto my swivel hub, because you don't want bits of metal getting into all your bushes and everything and your grease. Now remember, at this point we've got this one, and I've also loosened off the bolts on the bottom of the other side so that it can be free, and we've got the first 2 on the cab loose, so the whole cab can come up and flex a little bit so we don't bend the cab. But now we've got access to that again. Don't put your fingers in, because you don't want it coming down on your fingers. You could put a little block of chalk in. New one ready to go. As I said, the cab's got to come up so that will fit. So as you jack it up, just keep an eye on everything. Okay, let's have a look at the 2 things that came out. This one came out from the left hand side. You can see that the rubber is completely gone in that. I would recommend checking these on your 80 series. Here it's paper thin there. And then this one here that just fell apart. Once again, completely flogged out. The cab was moving around on it. there, and then you can see here where I've drilled through. I drilled through the bolt, and the bolt has come out of the top of it there. I drilled through, rotated it, drilled through, and that actually worked quite well without an oxy. So there's a way to do this if you don't have an oxy. So my new bolts turned up today, and I got 2 new nuts with it. I'm using the washer that was there. The old bolt on this side here, I had to drill out. So I drilled through the rubber to drill that out. Now I recommend when you replace these that you get new bolts. That was the one off the other side. It's also very badly corroded. So new bolts going in both sides. So we're just here at the passenger side. You can see that this part of the air conditioning here gets in the way. You can get access down through the hole there. It's a little bit tricky. I used pointy nose pliers to pull it out on the passenger side. The driver's side was a lot easier to do. I ran through that process, but this side here just works the same. To put the new bolt in, I just jack the car up a little bit and the bolt drops straight through. What we do is take the bolt. Now I already have the washer down there. It's a little bit hard and dark to see, so that drops in like that, but doesn't go in. So you need to jack the car up a little bit so that just the body, so that the bolt will fall straight through. Now when I ordered the new rubbers, I ordered new washers that go on the bottom. You can see around there, it's worn and it's actually countersunk a few mils. So I ordered nice new ones. That way there's not going to be that movement and play already. So nice new ones of those. Make sure you get them when you do this job. So don't forget to put your new washer on. Then your nut with the big washer. Now if you're lucky, you may be able to get it to tighten up without having somebody up the top, and I'm lucky. If you're not lucky and it wants to turn up the top, then you're going to need somebody up the top with a socket coming down on the top of this bolt. I like using my flexi thing. I bought it on eBay. It gets down in that hole nice and easy. I used it to help get them out as well, and I use it a lot, so I love it. So when we have that one nice and tight, we put our second nut on. Don't forget this is a lock nut. Goes up against that nut, stops it coming undone. Make sure that's in there. Now we've done these. Don't forget to undo the 2 further back down the car that you undid before. Put your carpet back in, and then you can start working on your batteries. Well, there you have it. Both batteries back in. You'll need to take them out if you're going to do this. Bit of a hassle getting down there. Bolts. Now, if you're going to do it, recommend replacing these bolts. You can see that one's badly corroded. The other one I had to drill out. I drilled through the rubber. So just there, remember that tip. If you're going to try and get them out without an oxy torch, drill through, broke the bolt, and then the bolt top can come out. Cut the bottom of the bolt off, and then that'll pull out. Jack the cab up, loosen the 2 bolts halfway down the cab. Don't worry about the rest, you can get enough movement to get that up and out. Guys, if you're going to have a crack at it at home, go for it. Make sure you check it, because the whole front of the cab wobbles around and you're likely to get a crack about there and about there, either side of your radiator. I'd recommend getting in and checking them. Have fun out there 4-wheel driving, guys. If you like my video, please make sure you subscribe. See you around.